I smelt third, 3247. After days of travel, I finally reached the city of Edge. I swear, humans are the least creative race of Chandara. Oh look, let's build a city on the edge of Hell's Maw Canyon, but what should we call it? I know, how about Edge? Anyway, as I really don't have any solid plans while I'm here, I'm going to see what trouble I can get into for the next few days. I'm not meeting Feldrick until the end of the week, so that will give me some time to unwind. Bastards, I'm not here 2 hours before I'm assigned my own guards. For my protection, of course. As if I need it. Assholes, just want to keep an eye on me. Just the joys of being a tiefling, I suppose. On the plus side, my bodyguards are both very cute elves, so I would really be doing the city a favor if I tested their resolve. Tonight will be fun. I smelt fourth. I was rudely awakened today by a very loud and fast pounding on the door to my room. When I opened the door and yelled, "What?" at the young man standing there, he just stood there not moving. Now maybe it was because I was naked, or it could have also been the two naked elven men sleeping in the bed behind me. Whatever it was, I really didn't care because he had the look of ruining what was going to be a very fantastic morning. When he was finally able to stammer out a few words I could understand, he said I was needed at the temple of Chandris right away. Why is it whenever people learn I'm in their town or city, their ability to think for themselves vanishes? Anyway, after begrudgingly leaving my room, I arrived at the temple to find 2 guards dead. I'm not really sure why I was needed so urgently if these men were already dead, but by the way everyone was carrying on, they seemed to think I could tell them what happened. Now, I will admit that after looking over the bodies, I was rather perplexed. Both men looked to be very fit, and since they were dressed in the city guard's uniform, I would assume that they were also very trained. Their wounds were deep yet thin, like it had been done by some sort of very fine blade. Maybe elven? Hard to say, but based on what I could see, both men had bled out. I asked the guard captain that was present what in the hells had happened, and he said they were on foot patrol, heading east along the northern rim of the canyon, and when they did not return, scouts were sent out to look for them. Their bodies were about a mile outside of the city. One of the men still had his sword in its sheath, and both of them had well over a dozen cuts on their arms, as if they had been trying to shield themselves from their attackers. But if his sword was still on his belt, why had he not fought back? Intriguing. Maybe this day won't turn out as bad as I was thinking. I smelt fifth. I spent last night along the canyon trail hoping to catch a glimpse of who or what attacked the guards, but to no avail. However, when I came out of my tent this morning, I was rather surprised to find a blue-skinned woman sitting at my fire. She had hot white hair, pointed ears, but far longer than an elf's. There was a thick fur on the back of her arms and legs, and both her hands and feet ended in sharp claws. She wore a simple leather top, and her pants were cut off below the knees. Clearly, the chill of the morning air did not bother her at all. I found my mouth suddenly very dry as I stared at the amazingly beautiful creature. I also knew what she was, and truth be told, I was nervous as hell. Most people never even hear of the Batar, much less see one, and here I am staring at one, and to top it off, she had already started a fire for me. I asked in the common tongue if I could help her, and she told me she was tracking 2 razor wings. Of course I offered my expertise, despite having no idea what razor wings are, but I would have agreed to anything to spend more time with her. We left my camp shortly after and continued east. It was just past high sun when the trail dipped below the top of the canyon and we found ourselves in a small alcove. I sometimes wish I didn't have such a one-track mind, but I was so intently staring at her ass as we walked that I ran right into her when she stopped. It was one of the few times I've ever blushed, but she didn't seem to take notice. She was staring up ahead at 2 birds tearing apart a mountain goat. They were the size of eagles, but with shiny black feathers and the wings and tail feathers a metallic blue color. Their chests were green, and when the sun hit them just right, you could see not all the feathers on their bodies were black. They had dark purple mixed in as well. Their beaks were serrated, and they had these bony blades that grew out from the top side of their wings. By the gods, there was so much blood. These birds were covered in it as they feasted on their kill. Shathir, oh, that's the Batar's name, asked me if I could make her invisible. She was so close to me, my heart was racing, and all that blood. I just nodded dumbly and cast the spell before I even knew I had done it. She asked me to wait there, and so I watched intently as the birds continued to eat. She approached them so slowly that it took her almost 10 minutes to get near them. Of course, I had also cast a spell to see invisibility because I was not going to miss a second of watching Shathir. After getting within a few feet of the razor wings, I could see her cast a spell, to which both birds seemed to calm immediately. It then looked like she was talking to them, and after a few minutes, they both flew off toward the north and she walked back over to me. I asked what she had done, and she simply said that she told them it wasn't time yet and they needed to go home. We went back to my camp and I asked her what she meant when she said it wasn't time yet. She leaned in close to me. She smelled so good. How can she be out all day walking in the sun and make an elvish maiden smell like a goat? I felt her hand on mine and my heart leapt out of my chest. She pushed something into my hand while whispering into my ear. Her hot breath felt amazing, and I really wished I had not totally crawled into my own fantasy at that moment, because what she said felt important. She then took a step back and pulled out a small crystal. She uttered some words in a language I didn't understand, and then simply blew away as if she was nothing more than a cloud. I looked down and saw a necklace that looked as if it had been made with some of the talons of the razor wings. I looked back to where she had just been seconds ago and realized that even though I have already seen so much in my life, there was still a lot out there that I knew nothing about. I reported back to the captain at the temple about the birds, but did not mention Shathir. I let them know that the birds would not be bothering them again, to which I was thanked for my efforts. I also saw that my 2 bodyguards were at the temple waiting for me as well. I gave them a low, exaggerated bow, and they both smiled. No doubt in my mind, we were going to pick things up where we had left off.